All right, let's pull back the curtain on a hidden world. The world of malicious digital activity that's always running just beneath the surface of our screens. It's a pretty jarring question, right? But it's one we have to ask. Because right now, without you even knowing it, your device could be doing things it was never, ever meant to do. And that's exactly what we're going to do in this explainer. We're going to take these super complex, totally invisible threats and just put them right under the microscope so you can see what's really going on. Okay, so let's start with the big picture. What are we even talking about when we say invisible threats? Well, it really all boils down to this one word, malware. Yeah, it's kind of the catch-all term for any piece of software that's designed to do bad stuff, operating in the shadows of your system completely without your permission. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Malware isn't just one thing. Nope. It's more like a whole family of digital villains, and each one has its own special way of causing trouble. So let's meet the key players in this rogues gallery. First up, we've got the digital kidnapper of the group, ransomware. This is some nasty stuff. It basically sneaks in, locks up all your precious files, your photos, your documents, everything, and holds them hostage until you pay a ransom, almost always in cryptocurrency. And trust me, this threat is terrifyingly real. What you're looking at right here, that's the actual message from the infamous WannaCry attack. The whole point is to create this intense panic, this crazy urgency, and honestly, it works. All right, next up, a classic matchup, the virus versus the worm. Now, the crucial difference here, the thing you really got to remember, is how they spread. Think of a virus like the actual flu. It needs a host, right? It needs you to click a bad link or open a sketchy file to infect the next person. A worm, though, a worm is a whole different beast. It's this self-replicating menace that can just travel across the network all by itself, no help needed. And then, of course, you've got the master of deception, the Trojan horse. This thing is clever. It shows up looking like a totally legit, useful program. Maybe it's a cool new game or some handy utility. But the moment you let it inside your digital walls, that's when it unleashes its malicious code, doing all sorts of damage in the background. If Trojans are all about deception, spyware is, well, it's just plain creepy. Its whole job is to be completely invisible while it records everything you do. We're talking every password you type, every website you visit, and then it sends all that private data straight back to an attacker. It's the silent stalker of the digital world, for sure. And finally, we have the ghost in the machine, the rootkit. Honestly, this might be one of the most dangerous types out there. Why? Because it digs so deep into the very core of your operating system, gaining the highest possible level of control. It gets so embedded that a lot of the time, the only way to be sure you got rid of it is to just wipe the entire system and start over from scratch. It's serious stuff. Okay, so far we've been talking about malware that invades a single computer. But what happens when attackers aim higher? What if they target an entire network or a big online service? Well, that brings us to the DDoS attack, short for distributed denial of service. The goal here is brutally simple. Just knock a website or service completely offline. And they do it by flooding it with so much traffic that it just can't handle it. It's like creating a digital traffic jam so huge that no legitimate users can get through. So you're probably wondering, how do they even generate that much traffic? Well, it's often done with a really clever, kind of sneaky trick. The attacker sends out these teeny tiny requests to a whole bunch of different servers online. But, and here's the key part, they fake the return address, putting their victim's address there instead. So what happens? All those servers send back these massive replies, not to the attacker, but straight to the victim, completely flooding them with data they never asked for. So attackers have this whole arsenal of tools. But how do they get in the first place? Well, you'd be surprised how often they just walk right through the front door, by cracking our passwords. And there are two main ways they go about it. First, you've got the brute force attack. Think of this like a digital battering ram. It's just trying millions and millions of passwords on one single account until, crack, it breaks. But then there's password spraying, which is way, way sneakier. Instead of hammering one account, it takes a few really common, really weak passwords, like password 123, and just tries them against thousands of different usernames. It's a low and slow method that's much less likely to set off any alarm bells. Okay, this brings us to what I think is the most important part of this whole explainer. Now that we know what these threats are and how they work, how can we actually spot them? What are the red flags, the warning signs that you might be under attack? Okay, here is a huge one. Security folks call it impossible travel. So picture this. You get a login alert for your account from New York. Fine. But then just 15 minutes later, you get another one from Tokyo. I mean, unless you've secretly invented teleportation, that is a dead giveaway that somebody else has your login info.
Here's another giant red flag. Your computer suddenly sounds like it's about to take off. You know that sound? The fan is just roaring like crazy. Everything is crawling to a halt. That could be a sign that some malware is running in the background, secretly just eating up 99% of your computer's power. And you gotta keep an eye out for other weird stuff too. Like, is your account constantly locking you out for no reason? Are files you need just suddenly gone? Oh, and here's a really sneaky one. You notice your antivirus software has been mysteriously turned off. That's a classic move. Attackers will often disable your security tools first thing just to cover their tracks. Look, after hearing about all these different threats, it is super easy to feel overwhelmed. I get it. But the point of all this isn't to scare you. The real goal here is just to be aware. And that right there, that's the crucial takeaway. Knowledge really is your best defense. Just by understanding how these attacks work and knowing what red flags to look for, you completely change your role in this whole thing. You're not just a potential victim anymore. You become the first line of defense. You know, we hear it all the time, right? That we are the weakest link in security. But what if we flip that on its head? What if that's also our greatest strength? What if our intuition, our awareness, that gut feeling we get when something just doesn't seem right, what if that's actually the most powerful security tool we have? Something to think about.